We're going to read the New York Times now. So let's see. The New York Times, of all the things, the headlines, this is International Edition, demand for action from part of a movement of students challenging climate change. Okay, then we have Myanmar, the coup over there, and an interesting article about textile museum that preserves clothes. But the best part of the New York Times is this part. Wait. This is my, so many ads here, like, let me just see, where is it? This is only the International Edition, so it's missing a lot of the good parts that I like. There's an article about the dog in the White House, Nashville. A dog's place is in the White House. An article about dogs. There are too many ways for a house to be empty when a dog doesn't live there. There are too many ways. I didn't get that. 100 ways, 1,000 ways. I feel this emptiness acutely because was just had to say goodbye to our rescue dog, Millie. Oh, God, epilepsy. She had well-controlled medication for more than a year. Terrible. She suffered seizure. That's sad. What I would recommend is making a movie about your dog. Oh, there's Millie. Oh, may she rest in peace. And there's Biden's dog, Major. So 2 weeks later, I'm still in shock. She was only 3. I believe she would be part of our family for another decade. Yeah, well, that's relationships. You never know, you know? A home feels different when a dog lives there. Now 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue will be different too. I say that. I fully agree. So she said, this woman wrote, I studied the photos of Champ and Major through tears. Is there anything more heart-lifting than the sight of a dog running towards its person across an expanse of grass? Is there anything more desolate than a home where no warm creature leaps up to greet you with wiggles and a thumping tail? Of course there is. There will always be greater joys. No, I don't think so. As we have learned too well this pandemic year, far greater losses. That's not true. I think losing a dog is very big loss. The bond is stronger than a human bond because you're always with them. You're picking up, you with them with the bathroom, you walk them. A lot of people sleep with their dogs. I wouldn't say there are greater losses, but knowing those truths doesn't offer any solace to a newly lonely house. Not everyone feels the absence of a dog as emptiness to be mourned. Donald Trump famously does not have a pet of any kind. Well, women probably, even knowing the political benefits of pet ownership. Putin had dogs, but he's a fascist, so that doesn't mean anything. For him, having a dog would feel a little phony, he once explained. Well, he's just narcissistic. Narcissistic people can't keep pets, you know, because you have to actually take care of someone other than yourself. Shortly after the 2016 election, a friend offered Mr. Trump a golden doodle puppy named Patton to make the transition to the White House easier for his 10-year-old son, Barron. Patton never joined the family, the poor boy. Well, I think he's playing golf. I think he started to play golf when he was 5 or something. Mr. Trump's presidency was the first time in more than 150 years that a pet of some kind didn't live in the White House. Most were dogs or cats, but not all. Actually, I have to say for the Vice President Pence, Mike Pence had a rabbit, and they even had a book written about it. And rabbits are cool too. So, Theodore Roosevelt kept a garter snake and a one-legged rooster. Calvin Coolidge had raccoons, a raccoon named Rebecca. Later, Herbert Hoover's pet opossum, Billy, moved into Rebecca's digs. The Bidens have Champ and Major. German Shepherd. I love German Shepherds. Champ came from a breeder in 2008. 10 years later, Major was adopted from the Delaware Humane Association. He will be the first shelter dog to live in the White House. And actually, Joe Biden is the first non-Ivy League president. He never went to an Ivy League school, which is also amazing. The day Champ, Major moved in, media covered them as national news. Unlike his predecessor, President Biden recognized the heartwarming photo up when he sees one and has been known to deploy his dogs as campaign props. Why not? I am confident of our new president's genuine warmth and humanity, but I'm not so sure it's fair to assume that sharing a home with a companion animal is always a sign of a good person. Oh, here we go. President Vladimir Putin of Russia, after all, is frequently photographed snuggling with dogs. On the other hand, I do believe that dogs, well, it means he could have been worse. On the other hand, I do believe that dogs can make us better people if we're open to what they can teach us. From Clark the mixed breed ultra shedder who helped us raise our children, I learned that loyalty and love will always matter. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on a tear. More than the tidy house. Oh, that I can always say, well, I have pets and unshoed shoes. From Emma, the Dachshund-shaped comedian we inherited when my mother died unexpectedly, I learned that laughter can come very close to healing a broken heart. From sweet, grateful Millie, I'm sorry, I'm going to cry too, the traumatized terrier mix we adopted 2.5 years ago, I learned that love will always erase the memory of cruelty, but also that love and patience and time together can sometimes make up for it. In time, I know we will find another rescue dog who needs us and whom we need. But that dog will not replace any of the others we have lost. I carry them with me always. Yeah, they cross the rainbow bridge. Even when the grief eases and the house no longer echoes with absence, I will carry them with me. That's the nature of being changed. For both good and bad, you remember what you learned. If we are wise, Americans too will remember the pain of the wrecking ball presidency we barely survived. We will remember what it cost us in civic trust, the connection of community in human lives. But if we are lucky, we will also move into the future with hope in what the new White House dogs represent. It would be wrong to reduce Champ and Major to symbols. It is enough for them to be loyal companions, reliable comforts to a good man doing the hardest job in the world at a terrible time in history. For us too, it is enough to know, as Jennifer Finney Boylan put it, that the decisions he makes have been guided in at least some small measure by the tenderness and grace of dogs. But perhaps it's not entirely wrong for Champ and Major to give us hope that compassion and kindness and loyalty and love have truly returned to the people's house, and to hope it's not too late for them to return to the nation too. I think that was very sweet, but sort of naive. I prefer somebody in the White House that can deal with fascist psychopath leaders. And maybe to deal with those people, you need to be a little bit psychopath yourself. I think Joe Biden would make a good priest. I would go to church if he was the minister, but I'm sorry, I don't really think it makes a difference. Our Prime Minister, Bibi Netanyahu, had a dog that actually probably inspired me to adopt Shosha. Where is Shosha here? Here's mine. Where's Shosha, Shelby? Shoshana? She's always nearby. I suspect she's in my bed. Lately, she's discovered my bed. And this is Shelby. She's going to be 16. And let's not only have, so they have a lot about my mom. Let's also, they have a lot of expensive watches ads. And then you have culture. I'm always for the culture and literature, but there's nothing. Culture, wide-ranging sample of British dance. Okay, no. Sports, no. And where's the, I have to be careful because I have to give it back to the neighbor. This is a beautiful art gallery. some arts, monolith. Um, oh, I like that kind of art. What is this? Blanket story. Indian territories, round dance, grandmother. Interesting. So, I don't blame you if you never want to go near the word monolith again. It was certainly one of the most misused terms of 2020. It means one stone, mono for one and lith for stone or carving from the Greek word lithius, and was pressed into overtime last fall when social media was inundated by reports of mystery monoliths. Perhaps the real mystery lies in how the word monolith, even though incorrect, was instantly and globally adopted to describe that column, a column of metal, not stone, that was discovered in November in a remote section of Utah desert and spawned a series of copycat sculptures. I don't know. I mean, I don't like art critics. Can you do it yourself? But these are weird. These are quite, you know. Can you do it better? There's no way to explain how the form of freestanding column, a shape as elemental as a broomstick and as old as the first human who tried stacking up a few rocks, has been settled over the centuries with so much meaning, especially in regard to spiritual uplift and transcendence. Interesting. Compared with horizontal vectors, which can evoke the recumbent human figure in states of rest, the vertical carries intimation of the cosmic. Grounded in the earth, pointing upward, it hints at a world beyond our desk, something larger than ourselves and far more enduring. Celebrated megaliths like those at Stonehenge or Easter Island do not aim to plumb our interior lives or offer insight into suffering, instead capturing a generalized yearning for the majesty of the sky and stars. Some of that energy is recycled in Ugo Randonino's The Dignified, most recent work in Cosmin Show. It consists of a charismatic giant with big blue stone boulder for head and two differently sized slabs for legs. Is there a photo of that? I'm not sure. No, but it's just a description. His stance suggests that his weight is shifted onto his back leg, signaling informality, making him feel less like a paleolithic deity than an ordinary guy standing around waiting for his date. The Rondinone, in truth, might look better outdoors. Yeah, I used to see in Switzerland people making stone sculpture by the lake, as would Yuma Bahabas. Similarly, or outside god of some things, a chunky bronze goddess with an invariable posture. Large-scale sculpture needs to be viewed from a certain distance if they are to be seen in their entirety, complete with the air they enhance. At closer range, they can disappear into their own textures, and as you go through the show, you might find yourself studying surfaces rather than silhouettes. Whether that means the blackened patina of Per Kirkaby's Torso One at the earthy walnut of St. Clair Kemen's Go and Thoughts, a marvel intricate carving. What I find is like the name is sometimes more interesting than the god of some things. Central. Here it is. God, I feel like doing that. I would love that. So then I go letter category, Marie Watts engaging blanket story. What I find interesting is like some of these art, like the people used to make artifacts we find from thousands of years ago. They didn't have names. The artisans that made them were not known. And now we're all obsessed with who did it. Marie, does it really matter that Marie did it, or could it be something else? So it's Blanket Story, Indian Territories, Round Dance Grandmother. I think art is very good at getting our attention towards maybe political or cultural issues, like whatever happened to the indigenous people of America. Tall, four-sided column contrived from a stack of neatly folded blankets in lieu of a rigid, immutable pillar. Watt, a citizen of the Seneca, she's from the Seneca Nation, is giving us a monument to warmth and variability. There are a dozen of blankets all together, each slightly worn, and it is surprising to realize how long you can spend contemplating a pink wool blanket edged in satin versus a gray one with fuzzy fringes. Another jab at traditional monuments is provided by Rachel Harrison, the New York sculptor whose much admired retrospective at the Whitney Museum, oh, I love that museum, I love that museum, in New York, was held a little more than a year ago. Her boss revolution harks back to the pop culture form of a telephone booth. Oh, this is her thing. Wow. I mean, sorry, but couldn't a kid do that? But doesn't matter. Somebody did it. It's called Boss Revolution, the pop culture form of a telephone booth, itself a bygone 20th century monument. Harrison's kiosk gives off an air of casual mayhem, with a black rotary phone dangling in mid-air, forever off the hook, and an oversized photograph of a woman hiding her face behind a hoodie. Where is that? You see it? Behind a hoodie. I lost my place. Communication. Do you see a woman? I don't see that. Doesn't matter. Communication is clearly broken down, and this assurance is provided by the presence of a white pages that juts out towards the viewer. Oh, there's a book, you see? Towards the viewer. Flipped open to a full-page advertisement for a personal injury lawyer. Column satire reaches its peak in Tom Sachs' Here 3, an inside joke that feels a little callow. It pays homage to Barnett Newman, the venerated abstract expressionist whose signature zip paintings with their skinny strips isolated against the vast fields of color brought a new oomph to verticality. Newman's Here 3, an elongated steel plinth rising skyward from its core 10 base. It's not in the show, so why are you describing it? It's not in the show and belongs to the Nashar Sculpture Center in Dallas. It's the inspiration for Sachs' sculpture of the same title, a deliberately shoddy and substandard replica that looks unfinished, bearing pencil marks and exposed screws. Which one is that? I don't know. Is that it? I don't know. Why don't you just get a building site? Bearing pencil marks and exposed screws. It seems to say I'll never be as good as Barney. James Lee Byers, too, openly pirates the column of a predecessor. Byers, a Danish figure in a top hat, who died in 1997, was beloved for his performances and tossed-off work made from paper, but his figure of death, which occupied a room of its own in Kasmin, is the opposite of ephemeral. God, my vocabulary is increased just by reading this. Ephemeral. Composed of a sack of white marble cubes that pay homage to Konstantin Brancusi's endless column, which suggests that even a renegade like Byers occasionally longed for permanence and a surface of smudge-free perfection. The older artists in the show, by contrast, appear unconflicted in their art love. Irony is ironed out of existence in the work of Beverly Pepper, whose Ptolemy's Wedge 2 is all about balance, and Ismu Noguchi, the peerless connoisseur of rocks. His late-life carving Gift of Stone is a 7-foot-tall column of pale gray granites that rewards close looking. What at first may appear to be a typical flinty surface turns out to be texturally dramatic, with dings and dents and cascades of pointless dots. Gift of Stone culminates at the top of a 45-degree blade-like angle, making the piece look like a Stone Age tool for giants. How interesting. Like most group shows, this one provokes the curious reflex that causes you to pine for the conspicuous omissions. Where is Brancusi, for starters? Where is Anne Druitt and John McCracken, both of them exemplary minimalist sculptures who turned the column into a vehicle for startling displays of lustrous color? Last fall, their names surfaced wishfully as possible makers of the pop-up column in Utah, which has since been removed and whose creator remains unknown. Despite its overarching theme, Between the Earth and Sky does not aim to be definitive, nor does it aspire to have the scholarly simply heft of a museum survey. It is not accompanied by a catalog, and the information provided to visitors is pretty much limited to vitals. Nonetheless, the show is ambitious in its historical sweep and includes a selection of ancient and tribal pieces. Oh, I love that. There's a carved stone column from Veracruz, Mexico, as well as wooden figures and masks from Central Africa and Papua New Guinea. Although they look a little lost and contextless, together they provide a generous evocation of the essential role that ancient and tribal art played in the development of modern sculpture, which taught everyone from Picasso on down that sometimes the most emotionally real form is the one from which realistic details have been stripped away. Between earth and sky comes at a fortuitous time. Lockdown and pandemic crazy, most of us have lately had more than our share of horizontality, staying home and shuffling around from room to room. It is not when we have room to room. Some of us don't have room to room, right, Shelby? Some of us have room to room. One to room, or maybe room. It is not our power to travel in a vertical direction, the French philosopher Simone Weil wrote, explaining why we cannot take a single step towards heaven. Let me read the sentence again. It is not in our power to travel in vertical direction. Interesting. But if our feet cannot travel vertical distances, our eyes can.